The festivities are upon us, and of course, it's a time when you want to have festivals. It's food, mostly, and we've seen the government make some moves at this time. I wonder if it is targeting this festive season or the next one. But we see the Senate asking the federal government to introduce urgent measures to protect Nigerian farmers from the impact of falling agricultural produce prices. So while consumers are excited that prices are reducing, it's not good, not so good for the players in the industry. And we've also seen that the federal government has commenced phased development of grazing reserves across the country. 3 pilot locations, Gombe, Plateau, and the FCT. Let's dissect this now with the managing director of Omotunde Banjoko Farms Limited. He's also the chairman of Agri Group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Tunde Banjoko. Mr. Banjoko, happy compliments of the season. We're already there, yeah?
Yeah, we are in the mood already.
And the food seems to be there, especially rice. The way rice is flying everywhere these days.
Yeah, the price is significantly down for rice now.
Yeah, especially when you look at it year on year.
Year on year, rice, beans, curry, even tomatoes.
Even tomatoes. What about pepper?
Pepper, I think slightly though.
Slightly,
but we
not
can
as
speak
much.
of pepper. We can speak only of rice, of yam, beans, and gari. Those 3 commodities, and even maize too.
Even maize is down. That will have a lot of good for the value chain, because you want to eat chicken.
But it's not. It should, but it's not.
Someone,
but slight.
Someone is taking our benefit, middlemen.
I think the processors in between, the feed mills, are like the bottlenecks in that value chain at the moment, because the reduction in the cost of their input is not reflecting in what they are selling. Because about this time last year or early in the year, a ton of maize was around 900,000. But now it's around 220 to 300,000. But most of them reduced 500 naira, 800 naira.
So we need to shine a light on them.
So we should look at them. But what I think some of them are doing is also probably trying to recover some of their past losses. So where we're thinking they would have also, reduced their price by almost 30%, 40%. We are seeing 100 naira, 500 naira. So it's not making us have effect. But still, looking at year on year, the price of poultry too is significantly low. Moderately lower than last year. Because, looking at, average chicken last year, people will always go for either the old layers or the broilers. Last year, you were doing between maybe 8 to about 35,000, 36,000. But this year, I think the price is looking around 8 to 25,000. So probably people will be able to at least hopefully afford something.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And now that the Senate is asking the federal government to introduce measures to protect the farmers, that's the other side of the divide.
So that's the other side of the conversation, because like you said, consumers are happy. We are consumers.
Yes, but even the farmers are consumers.
As farmers now, the government is missing some stuffs in between. I think I love what the senator from Gombe State mentioned, Senator Goje or something. While the government wants the price of food to be down, that's what every Nigerian wants. But we should do it the right way. The right way is not just by giving partial waiver and importing food massively into the country to crash prices, not considering the cost of production of current farmers. That should have been factored in. Or probably a commodity board, like I've always said. You could have associated, bring the farmers together. How much is it costing you to bring this food to this production stage? Then can we find a way to buy off you at a reduced rate? That would have sustained production. But the current method is not going to sustain production because people will be discouraged. I'll look at a ton of cassava currently. It's doing about 52,000 per ton. What we are selling around 150, 160,000 per ton. So you had gone to borrow money, you have gone to raise capital, thinking you sell around 150, 140. Now you are selling at a loss. I have a friend who said rather than sell, he will leave his cassava to be buried in the ground. He came from the US to invest in Nigeria. So are we going to be encouraging investment if their prices are not meeting up cost of production? So the government should look at how to encourage the farmers by bringing down the cost of input Fertilizer is still selling. I still bought 55,000 per bag, and I bought quite some numbers this year. And then they have some subsidized one for 40,000 that you rarely get in the market. So the government should prioritize subsidizing input for farmers, not just crashing the food at the market value.
So my problem with this conversation is that, I mean, and as this happens in most of our issues, is we're having this conversation when the issue is already on. So, I mean, these are things we should have pushed for.
We should have planned it all together. Simultaneously, you could have, we said something early in the year, the capitalization of Bank of Agriculture, we are all excited, but as at now, that has not been done. This is December, so obviously I'm not sure that's longer happening 2025. So if that had been done, for example, and farmers are taking funds at lower rates, then production would have been increased, because somebody doing 5 hectares could have done 10 hectares with cheaper funds. Then if the government had brought in the input and say, okay, farmers group, you take this input, what you would have bought 9,000, we've got it for you at 5,000, at 6,000. Those are the areas that I think the government should be looking into, not just looking at the end, because it looks more like a political move, not something to sustain the industry. Looks like you want people to be happy with you, but those that have gone into the industry, and we keep telling, okay, the young ones should come, the old ones should stay, and all that, but who wants to stay? So everybody's asking, how am I going to survive as a farmer?
And the consequences of this, or some of it, would be that people will start leaving the agricultural sector.
That's the consequence.
Then we'll now have a squeeze of supply.
So now, by the time you can't sustain your import, what would have been produced locally will not be able to sustain the population, and then the price that you are trying to micromanage will skyrocket, because it will now become demand and supply. So definitely demand will overshoot supply at some point if the government do not pay attention to what the senator is saying.
Yeah, well, I hope that the senator or the Senate committee would push this until so it's not just something they mention.
I'm happy it's coming from them, not from farmers like us, because
they wouldn't have heard if it was coming from.
Yeah, so if it was coming from us, they would have thought, okay, probably is he a PDP guy, is he an APC guy, But coming from a senator who is coming from a farming community in Gombe State, speaking for his people, and that's what we expect these legislators to actually be doing. When you see an area of concern, you should push it, because they have those platforms to push those conversations. So I really commend that senator.
All right. And the other thing is the grazing reserve. Long time coming, but it seems it has started. This is on the news. Please tell me.
Okay, I will still say, to be honest, I have not gone to the site, so I won't say. But I think from what I gathered, I think the pilots conversation has started.
At least we should see the one in Abuja. That should be in our faces.
Abuja, I have not seen any picture or anything to really validate that information, but I want to believe the government that those 3 have started, even though I'm wondering why picking those 3 states, because bulk of our grazing reserves are actually in Adamawa, Bauchi, and Borno states. And
could it be they're trying to see a more secure?
I don't know.
So that at least to have a good impression.
Because I would have thought we have about 417. About out of the 417, only about 141 has actually been gazetted, mapped out, ready. They are trying to gazette additional ones to take it to about 253. I would have thought the areas where we have more and where we have the push of some of these herdsmen should have been the pilot. But I think what I see in this is it's likely to be sustainable. Unlike the one that is previously driven strictly by government, the federal government, I think what they are trying to do now is to involve the state government and bring in the private sectors. So with the private sectors coming in now, probably I think it should be better and sustained, because I think they're expanding the scope now. So it's not just about want to give them ranching. They're talking about the lives of also those, the pastoral guys, talking about communities for them, hospitals, schools, and all that. So probably with that information, it might be better, probably with better funding.
Another thing that could make it sustainable is the choice of the private sector. Yeah. I mean, with this political intonation, sure. You understand. So if we want to get the private sector involved in this grazing reserve.
Yeah.
Who are they? What experience? What's their expertise? Or is it just about their political
The
party?
private sector, you know, like we've always said, ranching or cattle rearing is a business. People are doing it already. Private businesses are doing it. They are running it with proper slaughters. So what I think will attract any private sector guy now is to see the numbers and see the transparency of the government. For example, anybody going into ranching will not be talking of, 2 years agreements. They will probably be talking of minimum 10 years agreement with the federal government, even 20 years agreement, and to be sure that, because most times what does government drop? Government rarely drops money. What they drop most times is infrastructure, and they want to give you that framework and that safety that, okay, if you bring in 1 billion, you can have this territory, because that 417, because I look at 417 and then you are starting with 3. So when are you going to get to 417? So it's going to take a long time. So the best thing is to invite the private sector. People are willing to invest, I'm sure of that, because from where I sit, I've seen a lot of investment come into agriculture in the last 1 or 2 years. A lot of guys in diaspora, most of them, agriculture seems to be like a way of easing back into the economy. Some of them, I've had several conversations now that, I'm coming back, my plan is in the next 2 years, but I want to get my farm settled. Like the one I mentioned, for example, is also a diaspora, but he has invested, but the price of cassava discouraged him.
What about insecurity?
No, the insecurity is still a challenge. We can't shy away from it. But of course, there are areas that are relatively secure that people are investing in. So people can still continue investing in those areas. But government still has to prioritize security, because it's a continuous conversation. The first thing anybody is asking you is that, Mr. Banjoko, am I safe in that area? That's the first thing.
So I guess that is one of the incentives, that
so you have to
the infrastructure that the government can.
So by the time people see, like if I could mention Oyo State, for example, they are trying to do something in the old Fashola estate. I think they revitalized that estate. They also have ranching. I've seen some of the cows in that area that they have in their ranch. So if you provide the framework, security, all those things, people will come. People are interested in investing.
All right, we hope that will be provided. But not talking from your farmer's perspective now, it's going to be a very dirty December. At least we eat plenty of rice.
I think this December, going with the prices I've seen in the market, I think it's going to be a lot better than last year.
And we hope it will only get better.
I wish all Nigerians a jolly and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. We wish you say, and we wish the farmers too a very bountiful
harvest,
yes,
and return on our investment.
Exactly. So that you be encouraged to continue.
So that we can be encouraged to keep feeding the nation.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Managing Director of Omotunde Banjoko Farms Limited, and also the Chairman, Agri Group of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Tunde Banjoko.
Thank you for having me.